So are you ready to dive into the world of the INTJ?
I'm ready. These masterminds or scientists are fascinating, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. We're focusing on two articles from the Spiritual Seek. They call them the Scientist and the Architect.
Oh, interesting. Nicknames that already hint at their complexity.
Right. Let's start with the basics. What does INTJ stand for?
Well, INTJ stands for Introverted, Intuitive, Thinking, and Judging.
Okay. So how does that combination play out in their personality?
Well, this unique blend makes them analytical, strategic, and driven by a strong internal compass.
I see. And how common are INTJs?
Actually, they're quite rare, making up only 1 to 4% of the population.
Wow, that's pretty rare. No wonder they can sometimes feel misunderstood.
Yeah, I can see that.
So to understand them better, let's delve into their cognitive functions. You mentioned introverted intuition, or NI, earlier. Can you explain that a bit more?
Sure. Think of introverted intuition as a superpower for pattern recognition.
It's like a sixth sense.
Kind of. INTJs with a dominant knee function excel at seeing patterns and possibilities. But they tend to focus more on the underlying meaning rather than just the concrete details.
That's interesting. So would you say they are always thinking several steps ahead?
Exactly. They're like chess players, always strategizing and envisioning the long game.
I see. So they're less focused on the here and now and more drawn to the big picture.
Precisely. And this future-oriented thinking is what makes them such incredible planners and strategists. It's all fueled by that introverted intuition.
Fascinating. So how does their extroverted thinking, or TAIS function, work with this intuition?
Well, Tay provides the logic and structure they need to take those big picture insights from Ni and turn them into actionable plans.
So it's the perfect complement to their intuition.
Yes. It's this combination of intuition and logic that makes INTJs such effective problem solvers.
That makes sense. But what about their emotions? Where do those fit in?
Well, that's where introverted feeling, or phi, comes in.
And how prominent is phi in their personality makeup?
It's there, but less developed compared to Ni and Tay. It governs their internal values and emotions, which can be deeply felt, but they may not always show them.
So they do have strong emotions, but they might not always express them openly.
Yeah, that's right. And this can lead to them being perceived as aloof or unemotional, which might not be the whole picture.
It seems like there's a lot more going on beneath the surface than people might realize.
Absolutely. They have a rich inner world of thoughts and feelings, but they may struggle to communicate that to others.
That's an important point to keep in mind.
It is.
And finally, we have extroverted sensing, or SAY, as their least developed function. What role does that play?
Well, Say is all about experiencing the present moment through the senses. For INTJs, it's not as strong as the other functions.
So they might not be as tuned in to their immediate surroundings or physical sensations.
Exactly. They're much more focused on that internal world of ideas and strategies that we talked about.
This is all really helpful for understanding how an INTJ's mind works. Now let's move on to their strengths. Both articles we're looking at highlight their analytical and strategic thinking, describing them as natural problem solvers.
Oh, absolutely. I've definitely seen that in INTJs. They're often drawn to fields like science, engineering, and research, where those skills really shine.
And what about their independence and drive?
Those are also key strengths. INTJs are incredibly self-motivated and set really high standards for themselves. They're always seeking knowledge and pushing boundaries.
They sound like real go-getters.
They are. They are natural innovators, never satisfied with the status quo. One of the articles even calls them the supreme strategists.
Oh, that's a powerful description.
It is, right. It highlights how they're always thinking ahead, weighing different ideas and strategies, and planning for every possible outcome.
It's like they're always 10 steps ahead of everyone else.
And to top it off, they have a remarkable ability to take criticism well. They see feedback as a chance to grow and refine their ideas, not as a personal attack.
That's a valuable trait in any field. So we've covered some impressive strengths, but of course, no personality type is without its challenges.
Right.
One thing both articles mention is the potential for arrogance or elitism, particularly if an INTJ hasn't developed their communication skills.
Yeah. It's important to note that it's usually not intentional. Their communication style can come across as a bit blunt or overly direct because they value logic and efficiency over, social niceties.
So they might prioritize getting their point across clearly and quickly, even if it comes off as a little harsh.
Yeah. And sometimes they can be a bit too focused on their own logical perspective and struggle to understand why others might not see things the same way.
So it's almost like they're speaking a different language sometimes.
In a way, yes. And one article even suggests that INTJs might sometimes blame misunderstandings on the limitations of others, which, well, doesn't exactly help smooth things over.
That's a good point. It seems like it could create some friction in relationships.
It definitely can.
It sounds like developing empathy and recognizing that not everyone processes information in the same way is crucial for them.
Absolutely. Learning to articulate their thoughts and feelings in a way that connects with others can make a world of difference in their relationship.
So it's not just about being brilliant. It's about being able to share that brilliance in a way that others can understand and appreciate.
Exactly. And we'll delve deeper into some strategies for doing just that in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, great. We'll explore those strategies and much more, including how INTJs navigate relationships and the workplace. Stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned. So, building on what we discussed, how do these INTJ traits show up in their daily lives? One article uses the term strategic pioneer to describe their approach.
Strategic pioneer. That sounds interesting. What does that mean practically?
It captures their ability to combine foresight with strategic thinking to handle complex situations.
So are you saying instead of just reacting to problems, they're actively trying to anticipate and prevent them?
Yes, and this connects to another term, visionary architect. They create frameworks for understanding and design blueprints for the future.
That reminds me of how one article says they're always finding the objective best strategy to implement their ideas. They want the most effective long-term solutions.
Right. They're driven to understand systems and find the optimal path forward. Once they've identified that, they become decisive executors, turning ideas into reality.
This decisiveness can be reassuring for others, right? But this focus on logic and efficiency can create interpersonal challenges. One article mentions they might be perceived as loose or insensitive.
Yeah, that's true. Because they prioritize logic over emotions, they might unintentionally come across as cold or distant.
And their direct communication style can also rub people the wrong way.
Yes, their tendency to express judgments quickly, as one article puts it, can be misinterpreted. It's usually from a desire for clarity and efficiency, not malice.
So it's not intentional, it's more about prioritizing directness and logic.
Exactly. They value honesty and straightforward communication.
Finding the right balance seems key for INTJs. How can they leverage their strengths while navigating these pitfalls?
Well, self-awareness is crucial. Understanding their cognitive functions and how those impact interactions can help them communicate more effectively and build stronger relationships.
One article suggests that INTJs need to express themselves sufficiently to avoid misunderstandings.
Yeah. Developing communication skills and learning to express their insights in a way that resonates with others can bridge the gap.
It's not just about being brilliant. It's about sharing that brilliance in a way that others can grasp.
Exactly. And remember, they have a lot to offer. Their visionary thinking and determination can be truly inspiring.
We've covered a lot about the INTJ personality.
Indeed. But we're not done yet. Let's explore specific strategies for INTJs to cultivate their strengths and thrive in a world that doesn't always get them.
That sounds incredibly helpful. What are some practical steps they can take to maximize their potential and live fulfilling lives?
One key area is communication. Learning to articulate their thoughts and feelings clearly can really enhance their relationships. They might assume others understand their logic, but explaining their thought process can prevent misunderstandings.
Being mindful that others might not process information the same way.
Exactly. And it's not about sacrificing their logic, but finding a way to connect more deeply. Practicing active listening and asking clarifying questions can help.
That makes sense. Another challenge was the potential for arrogance. How can they avoid that?
Cultivating humility is key. Recognizing they don't have all the answers and being open to learning from others makes a big difference. It's about valuing different perspectives.
Embracing the idea that there's always more to learn, even from those who think differently.
Precisely. And remember, INTJs are naturally curious. Channeling this into understanding different viewpoints can be enriching.
The articles also emphasize developing their feeling side. How can they tap into their emotions more fully?
It starts with self-reflection. Identifying and acknowledging their feelings, even if they seem irrational, is crucial. Journaling, talking to a friend, or creative pursuits can help them connect with their inner world.
Creating a safe space for those emotions and finding healthy outlets for expression.
Exactly. And remember, expressing emotions doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be as simple as sharing with a loved one or through art or writing.
Finding a form of expression that feels authentic is key.
Absolutely. It's a journey. Developing the feeling side is an ongoing process.
We've talked about relationships, but what about family dynamics? How might INTJ traits play out there?
INTJs, with their independence and need for intellectual stimulation, can feel like the odd one out in their families, especially if their members have different personalities. They might struggle to relate to those focused on tradition or emotional expression.
It's about bridging differences and finding common ground.
Exactly. It's important for their families to understand their need for space and intellectual freedom. Appreciating their unique perspective and engaging in meaningful conversations can foster a stronger bond.
Helpful advice for both INTJs and their families.
It's about understanding the different ways people experience the world.
Now let's talk about the workplace. We've touched on how INTJs thrive in roles with autonomy and intellectual stimulation. What other factors contribute to their career satisfaction?
A work environment that values their strategic thinking and problem solving is crucial. They need opportunities to learn and grow.
So it's not just the job, but the company culture and colleagues too.
Absolutely. INTJs need to feel respected and valued. Working with a team that appreciates their perspective and engages in intellectual debate can be fulfilling.
Sounds like a recipe for success. But what if an INTJ is in an environment that doesn't align with their needs?
First, acknowledge those feelings of frustration. Ignoring them won't help. Once they identify the source, they can brainstorm solutions, like talking to their manager about more challenging assignments or seeking professional development.
So taking proactive steps to advocate for their needs and create a more fulfilling experience.
Exactly. And they're not alone. There are resources like career counseling or online communities that offer support and guidance.
That's encouraging. There are always options, even when things feel challenging.
There are. It's about exploring them and advocating for what they need to thrive.
This has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of the INTJ.
If you're an INTJ listening, remember your analytical mind and determination are valuable. Embrace your strength, cultivate self-awareness, and challenge yourself to grow. The world needs your insights.
And if you're interacting with an INTJ, remember that beneath that reserved exterior is a complex individual. Be patient with their communication, engage intellectually, and appreciate their perspective.
We hope this deep dive provided valuable insights into the INTJ mind. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing boundaries.
We've talked about communication and humility. What other advice do you have for INTJs navigating challenges?
Dealing with strong emotions is a big one. Because they lean on logic, they might struggle to process or express feelings effectively.
So they might just try to, suppress those emotions or see them as irrational?
That's possible, yeah. But emotions are a natural part of being human, even for logical INTJs. Ignoring them can cause inner conflict.
That makes sense. What's a healthier way to handle those emotions?
It starts with just acknowledging those emotions without judgment. Instead of pushing them away, just observe them. Let yourself feel them. Journaling can help, talking to a friend, or even doing something that helps you process those emotions in a safe way.
So it's more about making space for those emotions instead of trying to, control them or pretend they're not there.
Exactly. And expressing those emotions doesn't have to be like a big dramatic thing. It can be a very quiet internal process.
We talked about self-awareness being important. Any tools or practices that can help them develop that skill?
Mindfulness can be really valuable. It's about paying attention to the present moment without judgment, noticing thoughts, feelings, sensations as they come up. Doing this regularly can help INTJs become more aware of their internal state, how they react to things, and how their actions affect others.
So basically just becoming more in tune with themselves and the world around them?
Yes, and that awareness can lead to greater self-understanding and better choices.
Are there other practices that might be helpful for INTJs?
Doing something creative can be really fulfilling. INTJs are drawn to intellectual pursuits, so they might forget about their creative needs. Things like writing, painting, music, any kind of artistic expression can be a good outlet for emotions and help them tap into a different side of themselves.
It's about finding that balance, right? Honoring that logical side, but also nurturing those creative and emotional needs.
Exactly. Personal growth is a journey. There will be times when they feel great, other times when they feel challenged or unsure. The important thing is to approach those challenges with kindness toward themselves and a willingness to learn and grow.
That's a great point. Any final thoughts for our listeners, especially the INTJs out there?
If you're an INTJ, your analytical mind, strategic thinking, that drive to understand things, those are amazing strengths. Don't be afraid to challenge the usual way of thinking, ask those tough questions, and always be searching for knowledge. The world needs your unique perspective and your dedication.
And if you're interacting with an INTJ, remember that there's a lot more going on beneath the surface than you might realize. Be patient with how they communicate. Engage them in those deep conversations and appreciate what they bring to the table. It's been a really interesting look at the INTJ personality. We explored how their minds work, their strengths, the challenges they face, and even some practical tips for growth and fulfillment. We hope you've gained a better understanding of this complex and fascinating personality type. Understanding ourselves and each other is so important, and the more we know, the better we can navigate life and build those strong connections. Thanks for listening.